So this year marks the return of the Milwaukee Metal Fest, which was a pretty big deal for me in my formative years. I used to travel for it yearly, and then I moved here for college, and unfortunately, right when I moved, they disbanded the fest. And it was pretty poor timing for me. It was something I always looked forward to, but at the same time, metal kind of hit the toilet pretty hard in the early 2000s, and only now that it has been completely revived and is better than ever, did they decide to bring it back. And I think it's perfect timing for that, but you might be asking yourself, what is it about Milwaukee, Wisconsin that makes it so deserving of such a fest? And I think if you were to just go to any local show here and just see any local band performing, you would be blindsided by such artistry and talent that you would know right away that we're the only city in America that's totally deserving of such a fest. And I think I wanted to make a video just to show you a few examples of that and how the best way to really show the support for metal on the whole and to make it kind of come back out of the dormancy that happened in the early 2000s. You really just have to support your local metal brethren, and regardless of what they're doing, just be there for them and champion it and make sure that they know that they're doing the right thing, regardless of quality. But you don't have to worry about quality here, because what we have to show you today is nothing but A+ material. So let's get this started. Many people who have viewed this channel have given me a lot of criticism as to how I'm able to ascertain quality in the products I'm listening to. And the simplest answer is this: proximity. Much like how everybody has their own favorite local sports team, the best way to analyze who's the best in the field is the one that's closest to you. So if you're ever confused about whether something is good or bad, just make it all about yourself. And being close to you is the best way to indicate that it's good. Thankfully, this band, Reflection of Flesh, is as close to me as it gets. So let's have a listen to their newest, hottest single that just dropped this week. So you already know it's going to be good because they've prescribed to the Chuck Schuldiner idea of having a acoustic or clean intro that has nothing to do with the rest of the song. You really want to develop as much of a diversity of moods as possible by just kind of throwing at the listener as many unrelated ideas as you can to really set that mood. So let's see how this very first heavy riff is going to go. So this band bills themselves as a death metal band, and as you can see, that's exactly what they are. When you're blindsided by that sweet Whitesnake riff, you know you're going to be in for one hell of a death metal ride. And I got to tell you, this track just doesn't let up as we keep going. And one thing to note is when you have a riff that's that fucking sick, you can never play it too many times. You just want to ride that shit out, because you got to establish that mood, you know, that real consistent mood of nothingness that you've managed to establish. If most of your riff is an octave and you're showcasing the very little movement needed between intervals, you're really able to establish a rock solid foundation for what's yet to come. So let's see where they develop from here. And you definitely want to just keep that 6/8 time signature rolling for the whole thing to get that nice groovy bounce that's so akin to such perfect death metal classics. But I actually don't want to don't want to proceed too much more into this because I don't really have what it takes to fully analyze the artistry that I'm hearing here. I don't want to wear it out, and I'm not going to be able to actually comprehend all the layers they're putting together. You could see that they don't want to change keys in any way, and by doing that, they're making sure that the palette of material they're offering you is really as monochromatic as possible, which is what you want if you want to develop a really diverse artistic theme. So I would like to go further, but it wouldn't do these guys justice to have a simpleton like me analyze their music. So we're going to move on to the next band. Up next is the band Inverted Vision, and if you've ever tried to compose death metal, you've probably been like, what do I start with? What are my building blocks? What is the language I want to present to the listener to get the idea of death across in musical form? And the answer to that is the chord structure you hear in the song Everlong from Foo Fighters. I know you might not think it's true, but it just is. And this band Inverted Vision makes sure that they set the mood by hitting you with as many of those chords moved haphazardly around the guitar neck as possible to really just establish that kind of motif that for sure will not be utilized for the rest of the song. So anyway, let's give this a listen. So once again, definitely masterclass songwriting here. They're doing the old Chuck Schuldiner technique as shown in the last band by having a completely unrelated intro riff and just letting it either fade out or do a harsh edit to the next riff, and by letting it fade out and having that cowbell come in, you really make sure that the audience knows that you mean fucking business here. And this next riff, I don't even know if I could personally handle the groove it's establishing, but we're going to see if I can listen to it without destroying my living room in a moshified frenzy here. But let's just see where it goes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. Now, one of the things that you might be burdened by if you're trying to establish your local scene and support them in any kind of way, you're going to have a hard time wanting to critique your friends, and I get it. You know, it's a harsh reality to tell your friends who are so passionate about what they're doing artistically that it might be completely foundationally bankrupt. Thankfully, I don't have to do that here at all because this is just fucking really amazing material here. But what you have to remember is one of these days, your local band that you might want to critique is going to need an opener, and you're going to be struggling because you're not going to be able to put together such incendiary riffs as this. So you're going to have to hold your tongue and make sure that you don't say a goddamn thing, because politically it's the best move if you want to get your band over. Just don't fucking criticize anyone ever. But thankfully I don't have to worry about that here, because as you could hear, this is about as frenzied and brutal and heavy as metal can be, and it's definitely something that sounds fresh as fuck in the year 2023. There's nothing here that you're hearing that that doesn't seem completely inspired. You know, when you listen to this, you're instantly taken back to the heyday of metal. You know, the 80s when every band had something unique to say, and they really just wanted to push the envelope as to how to say it, and they all did such amazing things with their own individual ways of saying these things. But I don't really want to move forward with this because I just can't appreciate it on the levels that it deserves. And I'm just going to give you a couple of sneak sneak peeks here in this video as to what Milwaukee has to offer, because I really can't do it justice. I cannot do it justice enough. So we're going to move on to the next band. So the last band I want to show you is Squid Hammer, and they're notable for being the first band that is actually on the newly revived Milwaukee Metal Fest. And I know what you're thinking, like how could you possibly choose among all of the amazing artists that Milwaukee has to offer? How could you possibly choose which local bands to pick? And the correct answer would be all of them. If I had my way, it would only be local bands, but unfortunately they have to share the stage with reputable artists. But anyway, this is the same way they ran the fest back in the day. They used to have local talent supporting the national and international acts, and I couldn't be happier for the first band that they chose to join the roster. So let's go ahead and listen to what Squid Hammer has to offer. Now, the key to making great metal is to stay firmly in the pocket and make sure you keep that groove going, because if kids aren't moving, you're not playing metal. And thankfully, this band manages to establish something that you could easily mosh to, with that riff that sounds like someone getting tickled by a perverted uncle, and then leading into some pretty embarrassing Pantera mosh. They're clearly doing that to throw you a bone, and it's clearly satire. They know what modern metal pitfalls are, and they're only going to be showing you aspects of them to poke fun at it and lampoon it, much like I have done here. We're kind of the same. Me and this band are the same in a lot of ways, but let's keep going and see where they go. Now remember, it's important, if you're a metal fan, to wear your influences on your sleeve. You don't want to present the audience with any new ideas, because that's frightening to people that are into fringe music. You want to make sure you give them nice familiar tropes, and buy the signature guitar of the band you're trying to emulate, and go ahead and write riffs that sound like they're on the cutting room floor of the last album that they put out. And I'm not going to point any fingers at who this band is trying to emulate, because they have such a wide palette that they're displaying here. But if I were to try to figure out where their influences lie, I might say Pantera, but that's a strong might. There's quite a bit going on here, quite a lot of layers, quite a lot of depth, and I don't want to pigeonhole them for a sound that I fully cannot personally grasp. So I'm going to play this a little bit longer and see if they show me some colors that I'm really not familiar with within the metal genre here. Now, I'm pretty sure he pulled that whammy bar the wrong way and managed it to get it to detune as opposed to increase in pitch, but that just shows you the power of what you can do when you've mastered Milwaukee local metal. You're able to really bend the rules of space-time to make such an important artistic message within your music. And I'm afraid to even go further after seeing that kind of cosmic ability. I'm really worried about what this band is going to do next, but we're going to keep going. And remember, the strength in your transition is usually to try to unite ideas from the first riff you're going to the next. So the best way to make sure that you have something nice and cohesive is to kind of give a hint at what's to come by not showing your full hand while maintaining either the vibe or the tonality of what you had done before. And here, they're really showing some artistic liberties by doing absolutely nothing but whammy bar dives to get to the next passage. It's really a genius move. Let's see if it works. And goddamn did it ever! Holy fuck, this is just the part we've all been waiting for. Let's go. All right, I don't know if I can actually bear witness to this coming solo, so I'm going to stop the tape right there. But I got to admit, after listening to what they have to offer, I couldn't think of a finer band to represent Milwaukee, Wisconsin when they bring the fest back here this year. I really think that they've nailed it by getting good old Squid Hammer on the roster. So there you have it, everybody. As you can see, the heart of the national and international scene doesn't beat overseas or within any kind of borders, but right in your own backyard. And it really just goes to show you that the best way to foster quality is to blindly support whoever is just the closest to you. So I'm going to continue to do that and make sure that Milwaukee makes that next important first step forward into the future of modern metal.